What is going on with this? Okay. Zoom was having some problems here.
All good.
Back.
Hello. Hello, Kristen.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? I'm great. Thank you for asking.
Let's get this going, y'all.
Nicolette is joining, right? Hello, everyone.
It looks like I'm logging on twice.
Yes. How is that happening? I have Jenna on here twice as well.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I have you guys only once. That's good so far.
Nonetheless, okay. So let's get started. So hello everyone. I am Kristen Allen Stewart. I am the executive director of the Columbus International Film and Animation Festival. I'm also the founder of the Columbus Black International Film Festival. And I have the honor of chatting with these folks today. And we're going to talk about some things about film. And first, let's introduce these folks so y'all know who is happening up here. So first we have Jenna Suru. I need to make sure you pronounce her name correctly here because I'm all about making sure names are pronounced like they're supposed to.
That's wonderful. You said it perfectly, which is different.
Yeah, so she started her career in international sales and top 2 distributors in Paris. She's been working with the Cannes series, which is part of the Cannes. This is the American pronunciation, the Cannes Series Festival since 2018. She manages relationships with French and international authors and producers and started In Development Forum, which is co-organized with MIP Markets. And that's not in English, I'm sorry. And she's been, she serves for a juror for our festival this year, as well as CineQuest. She's also the director of the Paris International Film Festival. She's also done some directing, and we've actually screened her film here, I think a couple years ago at CIF+AF. She has a ton of accolades, and you can definitely Google her and find out all these accolades. So all these people that are on this panel today are definitely Googleable, and that is definitely about to be the word that we're using up in here. So Oxford Dictionary, take note of what is being said here today. Not an apologist. So Jenna, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So also we have Sydney Cruz. I've had the pleasure of meeting Sydney in other film capacities, and she's such a delight. She's actually also worked with me on the film that I just finished, Blue Rebellion, which was actually great having her energy on set. She's a Columbus native. She graduated from OSU for social work in 2012. And she's like just a writing maven. She directed and wrote her first film, In Our Bed, in 2018, and it was at Gateway, which is like a dope place for us up and coming filmmakers to showcase to the world in Columbus what we're doing in what people call our cow town. But she also, and what I really want to highlight is the launch of the Black film group that she is a part of, and we're going to get into that here soon. So thank you for being here, Sydney.
Of course.
Finally, but not the least person, definitely give my flowers to Nikki Swift for being here today. She is a tech maven, and that is just what I'm going to say, because that is how I've always known her to be, just knowing all of the answers to all of the questions when it comes to tech. and she's also very Googleable. She runs Nicolette Cinematographics, and she's been doing live streams all during COVID, and she's like perfected the live stream and like the artists and how they meet together and converge and tell the people while they're at home, like binging Netflix, what is out there and what there is to do when it comes to just being able to still connect while we've been, you know, in the house, bored in the house. And so I've also had the pleasure of working with her with CBIF, with this film festival, doing live streams. She helped, not even just helped, like she edited and colored Blue Rebellion. Let me tell you, okay, post is not my wheelhouse, and she saved me every single time. And so I want to thank Nikki for being here and gracing us with her presence and absolutely giving us the knowledge that we're definitely going to get on this call. So I'm going to do some things here before we get to the situation. Give me a couple moments. Okay. So there's going to be some changes because, like I said, so I curate film, I do the film festival thing, and I write. So everything else where I'm pushing buttons, that's not really how I can succeed in the earth here. So we're going to have one of our board members actually assist me here. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's just get started and let's chat about, you know, and anyone can start. I'm just going to throw questions out there, and if you would like to raise your hands, if you want it to be organized, if that gives you anxiety, I will come back and make sure we're all comfortable here. But I did want to discuss and I did discuss this a little bit in your introductions. What is your range in the film industry? So where is your wheelhouse? Where do you feel most comfortable? And when you introduce yourself as a filmmaker, what do you tell people? Because y'all all have a lot of slashes in what y'all do. So just tell us from your own words and not me making up words about what y'all do.
So,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, please,
No,
please,
go ahead.
Nicolette. As you very kindly mentioned, Kristen, I'm a filmmaker. I was so honored to see the Golden Age honored for the very first time at the Columbus International Film Festival. I make films about artists struggling for change in the world and to find their role in the world. And I'm also the director of the Paris International Film Festival and one of the first organizers of Canceres, because here at the Paris International Film Festival, we believe that it's very important to give filmmakers the accessibility and also to give them equal chances for representation and to show their messages and throw it at the wall for change.
I'm a little more awkward in my self-introduction, so I'll usually go, I'm a filmmaker. But actually behind all that, I've done experimental, recently finished narrative, feature, a documentary feature. I've done dance film. Recently, because of COVID, I've been doing event live stream with artists talking to each other. And I would say mostly I'm an editor and I do color correction. But I've also recently, because of COVID, learned how to do sound. So.
Yeah, COVID has definitely made us learn things we wouldn't ordinarily have to do. So I've really honestly just gotten comfortable saying that I'm a filmmaker, which is kind of weird because, like, why do I need to be weird about that? But definitely my wheelhouse, so to speak, is writing and directing. And I am not at all comfortable with the editing space. So Nikki, I might be calling you after this. I think my focus is really telling stories that center people of color, as well as the LGBTQ plus community, because I think sometimes we don't get our fair shake when we see ourselves on camera. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. But yeah, that's definitely the space I'm most comfortable in right now.
I think that says a lot, especially that, and I don't want to be this person, but we are all women. I think it says a lot, even when Nikki says, I just say, oh, I'm a filmmaker. And I think it says a lot in terms of like being in a male dominated industry and how we kind of shy away from like our strengths and what makes us bomb and what makes us like, industry leaders and what actually pays our bills, that type of thing. So I think that says a lot, in ways that kind of goes into my next question is kind of like, how has your work, and I know specifically Sydney's kind of saying like, I'm just getting started, but how has your work, or how has your work moving forward, how has that elevated the film industry in your opinion? And just so we're on the same page, we can start with Sydney.
Yeah, I think my hope and my goal is to elevate the industry in the way in which we think about the stories that we tell and how we cast people too, right? Like that, a story about a small town person going through, a life change doesn't have to be about a white cisgendered person, that it can be about anybody. And so that's what I hope to do in elevating the industry. And I also help to build like more community, especially here in Ohio where I am, just because you can't make a film by yourself, no matter how hard you try. Like it's really difficult to do that by yourself. And so community is so important, and really just continuing to build that community so we can be resources to each other. And that's another way I hope to sort of elevate the local film industry.
I'm on mute. Jenna?
I completely agree with Sydney. The power of community is extremely important, because I'm sure we're going to discuss it quite extensively today on this panel. The connection with the audience, and also building this legacy and this trust relationship with distributors, with festivals, with press, with your audience, and also with your cast and crew is so very important. So I was very honored that I could join the Cannes series team at the very beginning, before the first edition, to kickstart it, because one of our first big challenges was to make it very accessible. The first edition ran in 2018, so we started working on it in 2017. And something that was really important, as Christine, you very kindly mentioned, was the relationships with international and French offers, so that they could realize they were welcome and that it was accessible to them. Especially sometimes with the top festivals like Cannes, it may sound like it's difficult to enter what we may call the club, or to just it's really easy to feel imposter syndromes. And so for us, it was something really, really important. And we were very excited when we realized from the very first edition that this was been successful. And in particular, the In Development Forum I kickstarted with the team was really important in that term, because it is here especially to support the offers and independent producers to actually make that step up. And as a filmmaker, I pay tribute to artists. My work is about artists. I love female-led stories for sure. For instance, my debut drama, The Golden Age, which screened at Columbus, is about a female actor who I also am in the film in the 60s, who meets this Franco-American producer, and together change the world in a very small village, but a famous one, which is called Saint-Tropez. And it's a tribute to all artists and women who fight for change and thus help the whole community and have such a strong impact also on the world. And because representation, as we know, is so important in terms of how everyone picture all communities because of the power of this incredible media. So it's something really important for us. I also want to mention that I know Leah and Charlene are attending this with me. They've been working on the Paris International Film Festival. And it's really important for us to mention that though we welcome films from all genres and all languages, and we select and program regardless of genre or of gender or any preference, 60% of our filmmakers who have been selected for the recent edition are females, which is extremely exciting. So we international premiered Kiss the Ground by Rebecca and Josh Tico, narrated by Woody Harrelson with Patricia Arquette. And also one of our big winners is Prim, directed by Nora Lakosh and written by Fujina Fekete, Hungarian feature film, which has just been picked up by HBO. And it's our great pleasure and honor to pay tribute to all artists who fight for change, both in front of and in behind the camera.
See what I told y'all about the people that are on this panel. Nikki?
Mine's gonna be super brief, I guess. For me, it's taking on the difficult projects that nobody else wants to take on. So, like our feature autism film, that was shopped around for a couple years before it reached my husband and I, who were willing to think about how we could work with actors on the spectrum and accommodate what they needed on the set. So, yeah, basically like that. And then also locally, we showcase local films in the Columbus Moving Image Art Reviews. So not only do we uplift people, but we also showcase films. So.
In talking about the showcase of films, and I know that you have a deadline coming up. Tell us more about the showcase that you all have.
No, that's not in my notes.
No, for how off the hook this would be. So
I know. Oh, my notes aren't going to help me anyway. So back in 2009, I think, we started the Columbus Moving Image Art Review, and it was to showcase local films quarterly. And so we will show anything as long as we have the duration to show it. If it's a 2-hour film, then it needs another venue. But we've done 45-minute films, and we are willing to show things that other people aren't willing to show. So right now during COVID, it is online. And so we're streaming, but previously it was in Haggerty Hall. We are looking for a new space, but yeah, see, no notes, I'm rambling. But it's free to submit, free to attend, just a local showcase that blends everything from experimental to dance to narrative, music videos, you name it, we'll show it.
Very cool, very dope. I know that it's very important, especially being in Columbus, and we always hear this phrase, the up and coming film scene, which doesn't really fit what's happening, for the simple fact that we've kind of been making films for a long time, but people just always miss out on the heartland. Even though we're the state that kind of keeps everything going, we kind of get missed over when it comes to creativity, and there are many outlets that actually give us the opportunity. And I know Nikki definitely has one of the premier outlets that have just been helping people get their stories out. I just want to shift for a little bit and get into some stereotypical language, because I just want to hear where you all are in terms of this. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that we always hear this phrase when we're talking about like Black people, when we're talking about people of color, when we're talking about women, we always hear this phrase, seat at the table. And I kind of just want to get your thoughts on like, what does that do to you? Like when you hear that, how does that make you feel? Does it make you motivated? I know for me personally, it's triggering because I always think of a Langston Hughes poem. And when he is basically talking about how they sit him in the kitchen when company comes, and how he's the darker brother, but he also, you know, he's American. He says, one day I won't be back here. And it just always makes me think of that. So what are your thoughts? And we can start with Jenna on this, when you hear the phrase seat at the table.
Well, for us, we never say, I never say, and I don't think anyone at the festival says, come and sit at the table with us. That's for probably two major reasons. First, we don't think there is a table. I think when you say sitting at the table, it kind of means or suggests in a way that there is some kind of club and that, you know, come and sit at the club with us. And we know who used to be part of a club and who is maybe welcome in the club. I think it's really important to understand that cinema and TV probably are very accessible. No, it's incredible also to see how the filmmakers have really understood how to use the technology and make these amazing films. There is no club. Anyone can be part of the conversation. And the second reason why we never mention this is that I don't think as a filmmaker, I'm so excited to sit at a table. I think it's really important not just to have a conversation, but it's important to show what you want to see, because it's about what you want to see. As a filmmaker in the world, what you want to create. And at the Paris International Film Festival, and as a filmmakers, because as you said, we really build this community, we are really excited to be here and support you. And it's a little bit like a journey. We know you're going with your project and you're building something really new. And I think our audiences are really hungry for new content right now and new stories. And this is not something we see as part of a table. It's something really new. We need to look for it, right? We need to go out there and look for it. And that's what makes us so excited. So we never use that phrase. We are much more excited to talk about the community and to talk about the power of stories and how important it is to support each other in the new world that we're building together. And I guess it's probably also one of the silver lining of the pandemic is to realize that we have a new world to build together. And this we can't achieve just by staying as we were before. We need to build something completely new. I just want to mention a quick example on that is that at the Paris International Film Festival, we selected a short film, a French short film, which before was not much selected because it was filmed in the story format, so just like on Instagram. But we love this film. It's called Influenceuse, and it's about the dangers of Instagram in particular for the youth when they don't know how to use it. And we're so excited. We recorded the Q&A with the director, and shortly after, we heard that the lead female in the film was nominated for a French Oscar, a César. And this is the kind of stories we love. We love to push these new talents, and I think this is what we should be all excited about now.
Nikki?
I got a little snarky when I saw this question. So I was thinking like, what is this table? Who is around this table? Do I want to be with these people around this table? Do they all look, think, or act like me? Because I don't want to be the only female representative, and I don't want to be around a table that isn't diverse. So if that's the question, then let's build our own table.
I mean, I'm with that 100%, absolutely. I'm all about just leaving the table and just standing alone wherever I am doing whatever I'm doing. Sydney?
Yeah, similar to Nikki, when I saw that question, oftentimes being a Black queer woman, right? There's those, all three of those things are oftentimes barriers to getting opportunities, getting the chance to hold on to some of the things that I need access to. Like those are barriers, right? And so when I hear a seat at the table, that's something that we have fought for so long, especially here in the United States, in terms of there is always a club, you know, that we have to try to fight our way into just so that we can have that access. So I am with Nikki in the sense of like, I don't really care what table they have over there. I'm mostly interested in saying, you know what, I've got wood, hammer, nails. I'll build my own table. And so that's really actually important for me, is because we've been talking about community. And so like building our own community and instead of trying to fit into a community that was never built for me to be in. So that's definitely how I looked at that question. I said, oh, this is easy. I know I always talk about this. Like I'll build my own table. So yeah, I appreciate that question.
I think I definitely understand that sentiment, building your own table. And that is exactly what I did with the Columbus Black International Film Festival. I came back from San Francisco and I said, what are these tables? I like none of them. It was like looking at the layout on Mean Girls. It really was. And it was like, what is any of this? None of this represents me. None of this represents Columbus. And so where is the conversation of the diaspora, right? So these are stories, and like Jenna is saying, like these stories, they, you know, we're interested in being on that journey with you, right? But also the question is, you're excluding me or us or we when all of our stories tell the same thing, right? What do they say when they're teaching us about writing, that there's really only 7 stories? And you're like, well, if that's the case, then I guess your love is my love, not the song, but right. So it's my grief. And it's the same ideal, right? And so I kind of want to shift to like my next question, which we always hear this in like these professional film settings, is the gaze. And so I want to get your idea on what is female gaze. And Jenna looks super excited about this. So we'll start with her.
Thank you so much for this question. I love this question so much. Female gaze is something so fascinating. Actually, I want to talk about Iris Bray, because she wrote this fantastic book about female gaze, and it's called A Revolution on the Screen. And she's a Franco-American philosopher. She is so brilliant because she really, actually I have it really here. I have it on my shelf all the time. So Iris Bray, here it's in French, but she's Franco-American, so it's published also in the US. And she explains so well what the female gaze is and also why it's urgent. She really uses very recent examples. I think female gaze is something so exciting because I'm sure we've all seen this, but as an audience member, I remember seeing films that I did not always find very realistic. And it also involves very famous films where you see female characters and you're like, no, we don't do that. We don't react like this. And I would be like, this is really weird. I mean, who knows? Why are we in this industry? I don't know. But I wanted to see on the screen something that I can actually not just reflect on, but just feel really excited for. So this has been something really amazing. I think also now we talk a lot, especially with pandemic, about what we eat and just what we consume. Is it eco-friendly? Is it impacting our planet? I think we need an urgent conversation about the films we're watching, our favorite films, who are behind these films. And it's no secret because really it's all about looking at the credits and Googling them, right? As Kristen said, it's really easy to see who is behind these favorite films that we have. Are they women? Are they people of color? Are they people who have new stories to tell? Because this media of cinema, as Iris very, very well says, is so exciting, and we are craving now for change and for new stories. So we need to have the right storytellers behind those stories. And I think it's probably something that can be absolutely linked with the pandemic and building a more green world. My company, Belle Epoque Films, which we funded, I opened in January 2015, has signed the EcoPro chart since its opening. And it's a reference in Europe for eco-friendly set and filming green. And I think it's just something that is going to be part of how we change the world, and also we change the way we make films, is to have new ways, because the system we used to have, let's face it, is not so efficient. And so we're really excited about pushing these new stories, like Kiss the Ground by Rebecca and George Tickell, which is about how soil and saving our soul will also save the planet. I think it's really, really inspiring.
Nikki or Sydney?
I defer to Sydney.
Yeah, so when I saw this question, I immediately thought of kind of Wonder Woman, the one, I think it was like 2017 or something like that. And then Justice League, I think they came out the same year. And Wonder Woman directed by a female and Justice League directed by a man, and you can tell the difference. And so that's what I think about the female gaze, where in male gaze films, right, you get these low shots of women walking in these like little shorts, and it's always like hypersexual, hyper emotional, whatever. But with the female gaze, I think, especially in Wonder Woman, when I was thinking about this, is like all I saw was power for her, right? Like I saw power. I understood she was on a mission, and like, yes, she had a love interest, but it wasn't wildly emotional. And I know that's kind of a funny example, Wonder Woman and Justice League, but that was immediately what I thought about, because it was just so different. And to Jenna's point, I think allowing new stories to be told with that new lens that allows people to see like, oh yeah, I actually am like this person that I'm seeing on screen. I'm not, rolling out of bed and putting on high heels to chase down a bad guy, because it's incredibly unrealistic. Unless you've seen these Instagram challenges lately where women are just randomly taking off with their heels on. But but yeah, that's what I thought when I saw this question.
So I initially thought of Mulvey's article from the 70s, Laura Mulvey's article about the male gaze. So my reaction to that question was more of a not only what we bring as cinematographers, as directors, but how do we consume and look at the media that is provided to us. Mm-hmm. So like I've been researching the female interaction with the male stars of Supernatural, mm-hmm. because it's like there's this obsessive nature to it. Mm-hmm. And so how do we consume male or other females or the world around us, not just like the male gaze, which is, I think, inherently placed upon us all the time. So
all the time. Yeah, I think I don't know. It's a lot. It literally is everything that you all said, like literally. And I think it's very interesting because literally everything that I do, it is my gaze, because that is how I identify. I identify as woman. I identify as female. So that is how I consider that. Well, CBIF is a female gaze, because you are looking at the diaspora in a film festival from the eyes of a woman who sees and has a perspective of the world around me as people are creating through film, using the medium of film and taking that and making art at the forefront of that. And that is what is important. We do have some time, and I just wanted to put this out there to the universe. If anyone has any questions, just drop them in the Q&A, and we'll answer those as we can. But I wanted to, as we close, I wanted to kind of get a little bit personal with you all's mission as filmmakers. And I did mention this earlier, you know, Sydney has a nonprofit, and I just wanted you to quickly just talk about that nonprofit. I know that we've discussed it briefly, and I know like it's blowing up, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't have a chance to actually chat with you about what's going on, but yeah, I'll just give it to you to kind of talk about that, and kind of talk about why you think you're the person to be at the helm of this type of work.
Yeah, it's actually funny because we were on the set of Blue Rebellion, and I noticed, I was like, there's a lot of Black people here, and I haven't seen them. Like, I have never met them before. And so I remember I texted you, I was like, hey, is there like some kind of group or something, like we can find these people? And you're just like, no. And I was like, LOL, I should build one. And you said, do it. And so I was like, oh, okay.
That was it.
Yeah, that's all I needed was a cosign. But I call it Black Ohio Film Group. And the mission is really to connect Black filmmakers to each other, number one, and you know, build that community so that we can have these crews that are all or mostly Black, that are telling Black stories. And I did want to be very specific about that, again, because of the whole gaze idea, right? I want there to be community for every person that is in the numerical minority, but I really want Black filmmakers in Ohio to be able to connect to each other and then connect to resources. So a part of Black Ohio Film Group is having courses. And so I am starting to have conversations with different folks in the film community to help build some courses so that people can learn, and trying to work with different film festivals to make sure that Black films are included in all of the categories. And lastly, once the pandemic is over, to hopefully have a space where we can meet and chat and talk and have some of those informal workshops as well as the formal workshops. So my idea for BOFG is that people will be able to come and be completely full. You know, that's something that I learned through the Lincoln incubation program that I'm in, is what do I want for people to leave with? And I want people to leave with feeling a sense of fullness and like rejuvenation about their projects. Because I think oftentimes in especially being in the Midwest, we can oftentimes get a little bit discouraged about like, you know, I don't know, maybe I don't want to do that project. But now I'm hoping that BOFG kind of encourages folks to go ahead and go for it. So yeah, and I think I am probably the best person because I'm thinking about it all of the time. I'm thinking about who can I connect to who to get something done. And because I want to see, selfishly, I want to have a Black crew. I want to see Black films. I want to go to Gateway and be like, oh wow, that's a local filmmaker and it's all Black. And I know that crew was mostly Black. And so yeah, so I think that is kind of the highlights of BOFG. So hopefully that answers kind of the questions there.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the work that you're putting in and what you're doing and how necessary it is doing that work. Now, the next question is for Nikki, and we did discuss this a little bit and wanted to a little bit make people uncomfortable, but kind of put them where they should be. So we talked about, there's a lot of different things. So we talk about many people shy away from people with disabilities, period. But even when it comes to filmmaking, we shy away from that even more. Why should we stop being ableist and just make a good film? Like, I seen Those Who Spring of Me. You all have an opportunity to see it in this film festival as well. And it's like a story that we know, right? It's a story that we can relate to. It's about love, and that's real, right? And so, yeah, so I'm going to stop talking about that. But literally, why should we stop being ableist and just make a good film?
Oh, proper representation is important, right? And so, like, Sia's film has been problematic for a lot of people because the autistic community isn't seeing themselves in it, and actually people on the spectrum tried out for roles and were turned away. And so it's like across the board representation is important. So how do you like it's great to have what I was thinking of like, we have Forrest Gump, right, where we have Tom Hanks, and we have and his name slipped my mind earlier too, but that it isn't reality because it isn't representative. And so what we found is our actors brought something to the table that we couldn't have even predicted.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about figuring out how to allow them to do what we are asking them to do. And so it was about, for us, making accommodations, changing the lighting, making it so that they were comfortable with us to mic them, making it so they were comfortable to just do what we were telling them to do. Or in most cases, we said, okay, you're having a picnic, have a picnic, and letting that, whatever came from that, happen. And so our actors brought their own personalities to this. And I think we're denying that by putting Tom Hanks in a role.
Right.
And so yes, it's hard. It's hard because you have to think outside the box. We worked on this with a crew of 3 people. That's it.
Yeah, that's
because we couldn't overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And we did minimal lighting. We worked them up to being able to be lit. So a lot of our initial scenes were shot outside because we knew we could tell them, walk across the street, do this, do that, like, and just let them act out physically instead of verbally. Since one of our actors is nonverbal, we don't need dialogue necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just thinking outside the box is all it was. And I think because Hollywood tends to like its own structure of making money, they don't want to think outside the box to allow people on the spectrum to or people with disabilities. How do you have to change your set so that someone in a wheelchair can actually be there? How do you have to change so that your actors can integrate with someone who's deaf? Like, there are all these things that you have to think about, and they don't want to think abstractly, I think. So
I don't even have anything else to say beyond that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't know.
Absolutely agree. And
Right, that was a word.
it was. I absolutely agree. But I did want to leave with this. I think if there are no, not mic drop. Okay, I'm looking at the comments. I did, so we could honestly end it there, but I did want to give Jenna a chance to drop some gems in terms of how we, I mean, because we can take all of this, right? So we can say, put more Black people where they need to be, right? Make films with people with disabilities and just be legit about the humanness of it all, right? And then we can say, you know, with Jenna, kind of like, so when we're doing all of these things, how do we, because and we're in a pandemic and we kind of feel trapped and we're making all types of concessions, how do we then use these components and say, well, I want to brand all of this. So how do I put this together? And I'm saying post-COVID, but what is that? I don't know what that looks like. We're in COVID still. So I don't even know I don't know the language. We've been making up a lot of that. But I was gonna say, like, what would be, how would we brand this now COVID going forward?
Yes, this is really important.
Yeah.
I think probably there are usually 3 key points. There are many points that filmmakers have to go through once they've made their film so that it can be successful. We probably can mention 3 main points. First is definitely festivals. Festivals are so important, and all the more for independent filmmakers to get their films out there, to build their career, to meet amazing people. So for instance, at Columbus, really the films are incredible, Christine. And I think it's a very important moment for a filmmaker to see the recognition. I remember for my team, for the Golden Age, when we received the mention from the festival, it meant so much to us because it was the first festival that honored the film. And then the film opened the London festivals, it was opening night gala, it was awarded, like we had our journey, our amazing journey. Festivals are extremely important. And for filmmakers to have that recognition, but also to build these amazing communities through the festivals and through these panels which share the knowledge, it's extremely important. It can also help you sometimes not rebrand yourself, but just sometimes slightly adapt your marketing, the marketing of your film. Maybe you can adapt the poster, grow the community, find a distributor. All of these are extremely important. So really festivals play a key role in that branding. Something really exciting is that the silver lining of the pandemic makes it sometimes even more accessible because you can attend virtually. So also budget-wise, it can be sometimes really good. In particular, because it's very important to also develop your international audiences. So when you think about branding yourself or branding your film, you can't really think it one way, can you? Like you have to think more because now audiences they were already international, but now all the more with the pandemic. So it's really important to broaden your audience. And this time is really exciting is that you can do that with more accessibility and a little more easily. So that's something really important. The second point that festivals help with, and at the Paris International Film Festival, we also do that for filmmakers, is probably press, and the third, social media. So press, same is really important, having great reviews. Also just to, as you said, Kristen, just to be Googleable, just to kind of show your communities you've made it to the news and have a voice. It's something really, really important so that you can find your community and build a new audience also from just listeners or readers who you didn't know before. And as they say, right, it's about who knows you. It's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you. This is the type of recognition we are all looking for, and which communities are represented correctly, because we need to grow that. And at the festival, all our filmmakers, they have access to our media list, and they are offered quite a few interviews and press opportunities because we understand how important that is, and probably now all the more with the pandemic. And the third one is social media. So same, maybe I'll pop my email in the chat because we can definitely put anyone in touch. We do work with some social media strategists who are wonderful about developing your tagline, like the one I mentioned earlier today. And also really using social media to serve your career and to serve your messages in a time where sometimes maybe you can be a little lost or confused because there's so much we had to learn all of a sudden with the pandemic. So those three are really important, and also we'll work towards your distribution, because realistically, the distributors will all ask you for festivals, for press, and for a strong presence on social media. So those three are probably key.
Okay. Yeah, so I will say this, okay, to all of the people who can hear me say all the things, that I'm delighted that you all were able to share, had the opportunity, and I had the honor to share this information with the people. Because of course I'm learning all of the time, but also I'm inspired by all of you, because I'm just out here. That's how I see myself. So, but I do want to say, I do want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for all of the things that you shared with us, all of the gems that you were able to share, and the realities. And I think that's what happens. And I've been frank the whole time. I think that's what happens when you get women in a room, because women have the ability to see reality. They have the ability to call perception bullshit. They have the ability to have a free range of everything. Like I said, when we started, all of these women in this panel have slashies. They just don't wake up and do one thing. They direct, they write, they make experimental film. They work with all different types of people. They're helping people on their journeys. They're helping people be great. They're helping people land deals with HBO. And I always hear this comedian on TikTok. I cannot remember this person's name. Someone will probably correct me, and that's absolutely fine. I'm all about learning. Just be nice. There's a joke that she says, and she says, I want to go back to the 1960s, where all we had to do was clean and cook. She said, but someone in the 70s said that we could do everything, and now we have to do everything. And I really do think that is the literal meaning of what we do in this film industry. That's why I started out with, what is your range? Because I know, looking at all of you, reading your bios and having worked with you, there's not just one thing that y'all do. There's not one thing that y'all are good at. I asked Sydney if she can be on the film, and she said, well, what do you want me to do? What do you know how to do? Why do you know how to do so many things? I ask Nikki for, all types of things. I'm always bugging her about all types of stuff. One day I'm just not going to bug her as much as I do. And
then I'm going to miss you.
And literally every single thing, I'm like, well, can you help me jury this? Can you help me put this together? She's like, I know all the information. And I'm like, I don't even understand how your brain is this big, but that is just the reality. When I first met Jenna, she was like, I can absolutely help you jury. And then I learned, oh, I also do this. And I've also been a part of this. And by the way, our film was in your film festival, and we're pretty awesome because I direct. And I'm like, okay, well, I just do film festivals. And so I am just really honored and inspired by you all, and anyone who literally is still listening to what we're still talking about. Literally, these are the individuals that are leaders in this industry, and these are the individuals that will take the industry to the next level. I know everybody always talks about how Ava literally changed the 100-year film industry and being a filmmaker for 20 months. In the time frame in which we actually knew her name as being a household name, she had won awards, she had gotten huge budgets with Disney, and she had created a co-opted distribution company. Some of these Hollywood people have been doing this for a long time, and they don't have the accolades. And so I just want people to understand that women are literally where you need to be if you need to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And that is just that. And so as I leave and exit out on this glorious Zoom, I want to say we're going to cancel the phrase seat at the table because I have power. And so I'm going to say this is what we're doing.
Okay.
Jenna says we don't even say this phrase. So Americans are just throwback. They don't even know what they're talking about. Jenna said we don't even say that. I don't know what y'all are talking about because America is a third world country, but that is another conversation.
Another Zoom.
Another Zoom. We'll keep that. We'll keep that. But again, thank you all, everyone who's listening. Thank you all to the panelists, to Sydney, to Jenna, and to Nikki. Thank you very much. I do want to invite you all. We do have a couple other we have one other discussion with a last group of filmmakers who will talk about their films this evening. And then we will end our film festival with our award presentation, which I'm really excited about. Jenna and Nikki know we had a ton of films and they were pretty awesome. And so coming down to say there are 9 films that we're saying are winners is pretty challenging and rewarding at the same time, because that really means that even during this time that people literally took the film art to the next level. And they were saying, it doesn't matter if it's COVID, it doesn't matter if I have to get a COVID specialist, it doesn't matter if I have to wear a mask, it doesn't matter if there's 10 people on this set, it doesn't matter if I'm filming this on Instagram, I'm going to create art. And we all know that without art, without us, let's just be honest, without us, everyone would have went to a mental institution, because without art, what are you doing? Who is entertaining you? Who is making you laugh? Who is making you cry? Who is making you think? It's not the press. Like, it's not the news.
Very true.
It's not your neighbors, unless they're artists, but it's us. It is us. We are the ones that are behind the scenes. We're in front of the camera, and we are the one investing in making sure that you have a happy life because we bring you the goods. And so I thank you again, and y'all have a great rest of the evening. Hopefully I will see you again. And of course, I probably will see the people on the panel at some point again, because I just adore each and every one of you. So thank you all again, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.